design here, and today I have with me Bjarke Ingels, who is the founding partner of Bjarke Ingels Group, which is one of Denmark's most thriving and creative architecture firms today. So thanks for being here. We're actually sitting on the platform of the Opera House steps, and I've just given Bjarke a tour around the Opera House. So I thought I'd ask you a couple of questions about your experiences and your emotions here. So you've been here before, right? Before that time, what did you expect to see? What were your thoughts in terms of what you read in the books and television?
I mean, actually when I started studying architecture, I didn't know anything about architecture. I didn't know any architects at all, except Utzon, because he has sort of in Denmark really a mythological status that every single child knows that the Sydney Opera was designed and built by Jørn Utzon. So he has like very very unusual for the profession. He has this like almost mythological status.
Yeah, right.
And so in that sense, even though it's it's an Australian building, there's a certain sort of national pride about this piece of architecture.
Yeah.
So it was kind of funny when I came here for the first time in 2004. I actually landed right when right after the big tsunami over Christmas.
Yep.
And first time I came to the Opera House, the steps were full of people for this tribute concert, a benefit concert. So I really saw the whole sort of landscape of the steps populated by people, and I was quite surprised, because I think the shells, the white shells, are so photogenic and so like such a weird sort of almost like global vernacular mixing cultures of like Gothic arches and sort of Chinese pagodas and sort of Aztec Mayan temples into this weird new futuristic sort of 1960s hybrid. So in that sense they have been stealing all of the attention, and I think one of the sort of secret geniuses of the opera is the fact that it turns something that could be sort of deemed as an elitist cultural institution into a very generous and very inviting, welcoming public building, and sort of the fact that you can actually the public can actually embrace the two performance halls, and even more radically in the original design that you could actually walk all the way around. That the building really doesn't become sort of preserving the sort of natural pier for a specific audience, but actually that making a culture house here actually also makes it a much more public destination.
Yeah, right. To try and bring everybody, to make it a place that's welcome for everybody, no matter how much money you have.
Yeah, it becomes sort of a man-made extension to the natural landscape of the city.
So what's something that you didn't expect about being here when you finally got to see the house with your own eyes?
I mean, I don't know. I must say, when I came, I was already a trained architect. I already had my own office. I've been studying Utzon quite a bit, so I knew quite a few things. But I mean, it was kind of interesting to see that the whole sort of base is made out of what in Danish you call it frozen beach, frozen strandblad, which is this sort of concrete that is finished with pebbles on the surface.
We call it Pebblecrete.
Pebblecrete, yeah. Exactly.
Not very glamorous.
But which is in a way sort of like a very, very sort of everyday kind of uncelebratory material.
Very generic material.
And it's sort of concrete elements. But because everything, and it's like this sort of mixture, you have the most amazing brass detailing, you have like the ceramic tiles, you have the sort of inner ornament that I hadn't really sort of fully noticed as much before, which is like evidence of the tectonics of assembling a precast modular system post-tension. That in a way the evidence of how this building is built becomes another layer of ornament, almost like decoration. It's like structural structural ornamentation, if you like. That so it's nothing, and I think it all comes down to it's this mixture of high and low in a way, of like refined and like really sort of basic.
Right.
But I think what blends it all together and makes the Pebblecrete as exotic as the reflective sort of ceramic tiles is that everything is done with incredible care. And I almost think that everything boils down in all aspects of life, and especially architecture, the distinction between careful and careless.
Right.
Because if you do something and you care about how is it going to be used, how is it going to be put together, how is it going to weather, how is it going to stand the test of time, how are people going to sort of get up here, get into the upper there, like even the loading dock where we arrived in the beginning, everything is done with such a meticulous care, the beams, the structure. So it's like it's almost Japanese in the sense that every single aspect of the building has been done with an equal amount of care. Sometimes it's more raw, sometimes it's more refined, but it's all careful and never careless.
And so what's your thoughts about the fact that not the entire building was designed by Utzon? So with that integration of the architect's purpose of autonomy, do you think that works? Or do you think there's some sort of rivalry that goes on between the two?
I mean, sort of like one of the amazing things is also like, no doubt that the raw concrete project was already a very finished building. You know, sort of in less interesting architecture, there's the structure, and then there's like a lot of applied finishes, which is like the typical sort of American way of building and a typical contemporary way of building. And somehow the raw structure, the permanent part of it, is always hidden, and then you have sort of an outer veneer that becomes the perception of the building.
Right.
Whereas here, the Pebblecrete is the wall finishes, it's sort of continuous inside, so like the raw building, you know, you have the exposed arches of the concrete ribs.
Yep.
So the raw building already is a major part of the experience of the building.
It's already its own expression.
Exactly, and then I think, you know, the raw geometries have actually been followed quite faithfully in the glass facades, and I think also in the major elements in the auditorium. But I do think that Utzon was obsessed with this idea of the additive.
Yes.
That you could make any organic expression or any expression whatsoever with a sort of a rational combination of prefabricated modular elements. So for the more sort of funky sections of the glass facade overlooking the water, he had these almost like ice sticks, ice pin. What do you call that?
Like popsicle sticks.
Yeah, like these.
Yeah, like the ones that you eat ice creams with.
Yeah, the horizontal ones that's rounded, and they were sort of joined.
Yeah,
so
right.
the rounded joint became like a circular joint that could actually be varied, so that he was doing these like organic changing profiles with these hinged elements. And the same thing, like the interiors also had this like sliced expression that it has now also, but it was based on circles, so that all the surfaces were convex, which would have been a sort of superior reverberation, which would have meant a superior reverberation. So it would have been, I mean, of course, it would have been great to see the finishes. That said, it's not like the architects who took over disloyally sort of murdered the building. I mean, it has so much already that it's.
They took the opportunities that they could and created the best that they could. And I mean, considering how much the space is used today, we have 5 theatres instead of 3, and so many different types of performances involved. I don't think they've done a better job. What do you reckon?
I don't know. You know.
Only time will tell.
But yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's also important to remember that a successful building is a living building. And of course, the trick. So therefore, it has to be able to accommodate change. You know, like cities. You know, life, as Darwin has taught us, life is always evolving. So life in the city is also evolving, and therefore our cities and buildings have to sort of evolve with us. So therefore, of course, the opera should be able to accommodate how its use has evolved and maybe grown. I think it's just, and I think that's also what I see in general, is that it's just important to remain true to this sort of culture of care that has sort of has soaked the whole experience so far.
Great. Thank you very much, Bjarke.
It's a pleasure.
It's lovely. I wanted to take you around, and I hope that you come and visit again sometime.
Yeah, I loved it.
And continue seeing the evolution of the Opera House. So
Definitely.
enjoy your time here. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thanks.
Ciao.
Thank you.